Hello everyone, my name's Kim from Professional Advantage. I'm one of the account managers here. We might kick ourselves off now. It's 3 o'clock by my clock. Thank you all for joining us today. As you know, we're going to go through Management Reporter for Microsoft Dynamics. Just quickly, we just do a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. Over on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll have a little questions box. Please do put your questions in there. We will get to as many of them as we can at the end of the session. If there's more than we can answer, we will work with your account manager and consultants to get those questions answered for you after the session. Also note, we are recording the session, so please don't feel bad if you miss something as we're going through. You'll get a link to the recording and you'll be able to review it at a later date if you want to. You can also then pass it on to other team members who you feel may be interested. So just to introduce who's going to be on the webinar for you today. As I mentioned, there's myself as one of the account managers, and then we've got Gail Kruger, who's one of our Dynamics AX and GP consultants. So Gail has had a foot in both camps, so she's very knowledgeable with Management Reporter, which goes across both. So what we'll do is, it looks like we've got quite a few attendees now, so we'll jump into the agenda, and I will now hand you over to Gail. Thanks, Gail.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our Management Reporter session. So thanks for the introduction, Kim. So today I'm going to start off with just a really quick overview of Management Reporter in case there are people on the call that have never seen it before. Then we'll also have a quick look at the differences between FRX and Management Reporter, and then some tips and tricks. We'll also have a look at the web viewer that they've included with the Management Reporter and the report library, and we'll also run through how you can schedule your reports to run automatically. Right, so I'll pop over to Management Reporter. Just so everybody knows, today I'm actually launching Management Reporter with AX 2012. So I will show you how to go into your product, whether it be AX or GP. The process is the same. So Management Reporter will look the same regardless of whether you're using AX or GP. So starting off, Management Reporter was designed by an accountant, so you don't have to be a developer or have any specific report writing skills to be able to use it. As long as you're familiar with the normal Microsoft products like Excel, you should find it quite easy to use. Management Reporter's got multiple elements to it, so we have some, and for those of you who do have FRX, this will seem quite familiar. So we still have our rows, and rows really define the layout of your report. So you'll notice I've got two rows. I have a balance sheet and a profit and loss. Then we have columns, and columns really define what information you want to see. So I have a couple set up already, so I've just got a rolling forecast. I have some budget columns and some side-by-side reporting where I want to see my departments displayed next to each other. The final element in the report is a reporting tree, which depicts the hierarchy of your organization. So generally, if you've got cost centers or locations, you can build that, and then that just enables you to run one report and create multiple reports at the same time. So I'll show you a couple of reports that I've already set up, just so that you can see the potential. So the first one I'm going to pop into is a rolling forecast. So just using your budget information within the system, you can create a rolling forecast which shows your actual and budget. This report will automatically, every month as you run it, will automatically update to the current month for actual and then budget going forward. The view that you're currently looking at is the new web view that has come out with Management Reporter. And I'll show you a little bit more of that as we progress. The next report is a departmental report. So all of these 4 reports that I'm showing you, the profit and loss ones, all have the same row layout, and I'm just mixing and matching it with different column layouts. So the next one, as I said, is departmental. So this is actually working with, you can work with a reporting tree, and so I have a P&L, and then I have my departments running across the top. So I can very easily compare how each department is performing. The next one is just a standard current year-to-date with, actual budget with your variances and variance percentages. With the web viewer, it has a nice little feature where you can actually click on a total field, and it will show you the calculation that makes up that total. So I don't have a very long report, but most companies have quite a few different categories within revenue, and so when you get down to net surplus, it's quite hard to see all the subtotals, so you can just click on the total and view your report. Within Management Reporter, we can also generate to different levels. So you can have a financial report, and that's just your normal report that you would print out, and you can have logos on that and make it look all pretty. And then you can also have, when you generate it, you can generate it down to account level, which will allow you to drill down and actually see the accounts that that figure consists of. And then you can also generate it down to transaction level and actually get a list of all the transactions. So I've done that with this particular report. So now I can click on my sales figure, and it will show me the account. So if I had multiple accounts, I'd have a whole list here. I've only got the one. And then I can drill down further on that to see the actual transactions. Sorry, I've got the wrong report up here for the transactions. I'll just grab a different one. So I'll just pick up this figure. So drill down, you can keep drilling down. This one's got a tree, so it's showing me each level of the tree as I drill down. So then I go down to the account, and right down at the very end, it will show me all the journals. You can actually control the information that you see at the transaction level. So you can add all sorts of information like the actual journal number, any other descriptions that you might need on that transaction. From the account level, you'll notice that you get a little black triangle, and when I move over that, it actually says open in Microsoft Dynamics. As mentioned, when I click on this, it's going to open up in AX, but it will have the same feature for GP as well. So that then opens up the actual journal, and then from there you could just do your normal drill down to the original transaction, whatever you need to do. Another feature of the web viewer is that you can add comments. So I can add a comment on the line. So whatever comment you have, and you can save it. Once you've saved it, you get a little indicator that there is a comment on that note. It also stamps the comment and adds the username who added that comment. These comments can be printed, and they can also be exported to Excel. When we have a report that is by account or by transaction, when you export that down to Excel, especially if you have a reporting tree, so I'll just show you, here's my reporting tree. So at the moment I'm looking at the consolidation level, and I can very easily have a look at if I've got multiple entities. So that's my one entity, it's Hello World, and then I can go down to my departments and see, oh, that's my sales P&L. So very easily click through, and that's all driven by the reporting tree. So when I export it to Excel, Yes, I want to continue. And open up my Excel. This is what it creates. So depending on the level of detail you've generated your report to will determine how many tabs you get. So I've gone all the way down to transaction level. So you'll notice for this particular cost center, I've got CTC, I've got the financial report, which is indicated by the F. Then it's given me a separate tab for the account detail. So for instance, I can see member subscriptions is 1,750. When I go on the account, it will show me what the account number is that makes up that value. Then when I go down to transaction level, it will actually show me the transaction details. So in my data, I've got one entry, but when you've got multiple, you'll see a whole transaction listing. So the Excel is quite a good tool that if you want to distribute this off to management and you don't really want them to have access to Management Reporter or to your Dynamics product, they can take this, or even for the auditors, they can take this Excel spreadsheet and very easily from the financial report see what accounts make up those the financial report and what transactions make up that report. They do not need a Management Reporter license to be able to view this Excel file, as it is Excel. You also have an option when you are generating management reports to create them and save them onto a URL, such as a SharePoint site, and then the users can simply go onto SharePoint and click on the link and load the report. So that's a quick overview of the reports and some of the types of reports that you can have. I know there are a few customers out there that do have foreign currency. So in FRX used to actually control the currency itself within the currency table. However, in Management Reporter, they have now pushed the currency control down to the source system. So within AX is quite good in the fact that you can do a consolidation into a consolidation entity, and that will automatically convert everything into Aussie dollars for you. Within GP, you have your different currency tables now, and in the later versions of GP, you are allowed to store the different currencies such as spot and average, etc., the different rates. Right, so going through some of the differences that we have now in Management Reporter compared to FRX. So I'll just open up a row and then we can have a quick look. The rows that I've created, I've actually linked them to the account category and not to the account code. So if you see the account category, and that's just a quick way to do a summary report, and also if you do add a new account number, that you don't have to come and update the reports. So some changes that we've got are the formatting buttons. So Management Reporter is really following on the Microsoft range. So we have all the normal formatting buttons that you would get in Excel, so you can make your reports look more attractive. Then we also have a couple new columns added in the rows. So we have format override. This functionality was in FRX, but they've just brought it to the front now. So if I had a calculation that was a percentage, I could just come in and click on format override, and you have your normal formats that you would get in other Microsoft products. So you can choose a percentage, how many decimal places you want, and if you don't want a zero, for a zero value you want a dash, you can just put in a dash and control your formats. The other field that has been brought to the front is row modifier, and row modifier is where on a particular row you want to have year-to-date figures if that column was periodic, or you could also have beginning balance. So if you wanted at a row level to have a beginning balance and then debit and credit rows and a total, you could do that by using the row modifiers. One really nice feature for people who are using FRX is that Management Reporter does come with an undo button. So if you do make a mistake, you can undo, you can redo. The other feature that Management Reporter has is if I had accidentally typed in a row that doesn't exist, when I try and save my row, I'll actually get an error. And when you move your cursor over the error, it actually tells you exactly what the error is. So when you have FRX, it doesn't warn you when you save, but when you go to actually generate that report, then you get your errors. So those are the main changes within the row. A little tip and trick when you are dealing with rows, and especially if it's a new report that you want to create, remember that Management Reporter is compatible with Excel. So in other words, if I wanted to sort these expenses alphabetically, I can simply highlight them and copy them, and I can paste into Excel, and then I could sort the data, and then I could copy it and paste it back into Management Reporter. So you can copy and paste from Excel into Management Reporter. The other thing you might notice is a range. So it hasn't changed in functionality. It's just that in Management Reporter we don't use 2 anymore. We have a colon. And another feature with the range that they've brought in is if you have subsections within revenue and you have subtotals, when you use a range at the bottom, in FRX you'd have to pick up each subtotal and say subtotal 1 plus subtotal 2, etc. With Management Reporter, you can just build your range on the whole section, and it will not include any other total rows that are in that section. So it won't duplicate anything. So that makes it a little bit easier when you are creating your reports. Another little tip and trick is remember that Management Reporter is very similar to Excel. So you have got where you can just shift and highlight cells and Control-C and Control-V. So Control-C, Control-V, copy-paste, or cut, all works within Management Reporter. So with the columns themselves, the columns haven't changed very much in Management Reporter from what is available within FRX. The only thing is some of the terminology's changed. Actually, I'll just pick up a budget. So for example, in FRX we had GL columns, where now they're called FD, in other words, financial dimensions. And then you can once again choose whether it's actual or budget. Another column type that's changed is there's one now called attributes. And attributes are really just information that will appear on the transaction detail. So I'll show you a list of all the attributes that you can add. So when you're drilling down to the transaction level, these are all the information columns that you can add on those journal lines. These will not be visible on the financial report, and they are not visible on the account level either. They are only visible when you drill down to transaction level. The report definitions. So some features have been changed a little bit with the report definitions. We used to, in FRX, have the ability to email the reports out. So Microsoft are really moving towards a more self-service environment. So instead of you pushing out the reports, they want managers to be able to go and select their reports themselves. So that's why they're allowing the saving of reports up to SharePoint. And I'll also show you the report library, which is another repository where the reports can be saved. Within the report definition, we do have an option now of adding images to your document. On the building blocks itself, you'll notice that some new little buttons have been added. We always had them up at the top, but now they've been added down the side, so you can easily access the row that you're reporting on to make your changes, or your column or the tree as well. Right, so those are the basic changes within Management Reporter. Mainly ease of use for the user, so as I said, with the formatting and just being able to edit things a lot easier. When you're viewing the report, as we saw already, you can view it in the web view, and that's the view that users would see if you generated the report off to SharePoint. As mentioned, they can go in and add comments. When you have a really long report, there's a little go-to button which it picks up all the total rows within the report, so you can jump around the report to quickly see the bottom line figure. I'm going to pop this report into the report library. So it's very similar to the FRX viewer, except that it's got a little bit more structure. So this will look familiar to people who have the FRX viewer, where they're looking at the report in this view. You'll notice that my comment has come through from the web view. You still have the same functions, so you can export it off to Excel or print it, or you could email the report from here and it will create a link. It also has a little function where you can generate a graph. So I'm just going to select this row and highlight that, and then you'll notice I've got some graph icons up at the top. So I can click on column and I can have a really quick view. These graphs are not as powerful as Excel graphs. You can't export them to Excel and you can't change your series around, but they give you just a nice quick little snapshot of what's going on, and you can pin them and they'll pin down into your comments panel. In the report library itself, you can manage this by creating multiple folders. So you can have a folder where you have maybe your marketing department, and you could have a finance folder, whichever folders you want to create. When you generate your report from the report designer, you can choose to generate to a single report location or to multiple report locations. So, and we'll talk about the scheduling, but you can just automatically generate your month-end reports and it will automatically create them in the relevant folders in the library or onto SharePoint. These folders in the library, you can put permissions, and the permissions are very close to Windows permissions in the fact that you can add specific users or everybody, and once you select a specific user, you can choose whether they have view access, edit, create, or delete access within that folder. For this report viewer, the users will need a Management Reporter license to be able to access the reports. So I've been speaking a little bit about the report scheduling. So just show you what that entails. Within the report schedules, you can set up report groups. So if you have certain reports that you want to run either every evening or you want to run it every month, and they are quite big reports, so they take quite a while to run, you can come in and create a new report group. You don't have to create a report group to run the scheduler. You can actually do it on a per report basis if you wish. So within this report group, I'm going to say which report I want to use. So I might just select the 3 P&Ls and put them in there. You can have a group distribution where that will override each report's distribution and they'll all go to the same place, or you can just select to use the report distribution from the reports. I'm just going to save that and give it a name. So then when I go to my schedules, as mentioned, you could do a schedule for an individual report, or I can select my report group. And then you just decide when do you want that schedule to start, what time do you want it to run. So generally this would be an evening task, and how often do you want it to run. You can also set the end date or not have an end date and just let it continue indefinitely. Once you've set that, that report schedule will run automatically for you and just distribute the reports. I don't want to run that, so I'll just close that down. The other thing with when generating reports, a lot of these reports, and you'll notice in your everyday generating of financial reports, is that they might take a little while, especially if you're going down to transaction detail level and you have quite a big tree as well. So it can take a while to gather that information. So you don't want to have to rerun the report every single time you want to look at it. Within the report definition itself, there's a little button next to generate, which will actually show you when I've just moved my cursor over the last time that report was generated. So I can simply click on that button and it will open up the last report that I generated. Within the report library as well, when you generate these reports, it actually doesn't override the last report, it creates a new version. So if I right-click on any report and I say Show Versions, it will show me every time I've run that report. So what I generally advise people to do is that during a month-end process, you may generate that report 3 or 4 times, and the 4th report is the one that is the final report. So I generally say come through to your versions, remove the ones that you don't want, and then rename the correct one. So I can say P&L Department July 2015. So that when you need to pull up that report again, especially the big ones, you don't have to go back and regenerate them as of July. You just come to the version and pick up your report and open it, and it will show you that report. So that's quite time-saving in that regard. Pop back into Management Reporter. Sorry, there was something I wanted to say and it's just gone out of my head. Oh, that's it. So the other thing is, when talking about generating a report a couple of times a month, is I may generate a report. So I'll just pick up the last time I've generated this report. And I've come through and very diligently I've put in all my comments so that when the manager looks at the figure, they don't have to contact me. They can just see what the comment is. I'll just say abnormal due to, I don't know. So that's saved now onto that report. However, I've just decided that I've made an adjustment and I want to rerun that report. So I'll generate it again. You can, if you are not comfortable with the web view and it's pure personal preference, you can actually set up Management Reporter to have the library as your default viewer and not to come to this web view. I have found that people who use the web view actually do like it and find it a lot easier to use. So you'll notice now that I don't have my comment anymore. So what you can do is when you go through to the report viewer, I can choose to copy my comments. So I can click on Copy Comments, and then I select the last report that I generated, and it will bring my comment through. So there I can see my comment has come through. So you won't ever lose your comments if you've already created them and you need to regenerate. Just remember to copy them up. So that is basically my talk about Management Reporter as a product. It can also link to Excel. So if you do have some figures that are sitting in Excel and are not sitting within your GP or AX system, we can link to Excel. However, it does not link to any other third-party systems. It does pull the budgets in from GP or from AX. And if you do have a system like Board, it can pick up budgets from there as well. But other than that, it is a purely financial report writer. So you can't get any submodule information. So if I was down on a transaction level, I wouldn't be able to see which creditor that particular invoice was raised against or any of that information. So when you are looking at a report writer or a BI tool that covers multiple external systems and then across all the different modules, then you would need to be looking at a tool such as ClickView or Board, and that would give you that dashboard click and look feel. We have got some clients who do their financials in ClickView as well. However, I feel that Financial Reporter is a very robust financial reporting tool, especially on the management side. Just for any AX clients out there, in AX7, which is going to be released in the near future, they have integrated Management Reporter into AX itself. So the reports that you create will be visible under the General Ledger report section. So the users will merely go into General Ledger, into the reports, and they'll see a list of the management reports, and they'll just need to click on them and generate the reports that way, so they don't have to access the product. For AX, your security for Management Reporter is all driven from AX, where in GP the security is driven within Management Reporter itself. So thank you for attending, and I'll hand back over to Kim, and if we have any questions, we'll try our best to answer them now.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Gail. That was very informative. I hope now that you can see my screen. Would that be correct? Yep, excellent, excellent. Gail, I might actually get you to pull up the question screen on your side and just have a look through those to do. We do have a lot of questions, so we do thank you for that. We've got about 10 minutes, so we'll get through as many of the questions as we possibly can and go from there. We also will obviously get the account manager to follow up with you on any questions that we are unable to answer for you right this minute. So, Gail.
Yes, so the first question is what version of AX is Management Reporter compatible with? And it is actually compatible from AX 2009 CU8 and upwards. And GP, it is compatible with GP 2010 and above. Let's have a look at what else we have. So I have a question here about Management Reporter and GP and looking at unit accounts. So GP does cater for unit accounts in the chart of accounts, and those are fully compatible with Management Reporter. So in GP, you just give the unit account an account number, and so when you go through to Management Reporter in your row, you simply select that account number, and that will bring in your non-financial information. So it's exactly the same as a normal posting account. I see you've had a little look on the web and haven't had much success, but it is exactly the same as your normal posting account. And if you need more information or help with that, we'll get a consultant to contact you.
Fantastic. Now, I do remember seeing one there asking about the cost of Management Reporter with GP 2013. Management Reporter is part of your GP 2013 licensing. There would obviously be services costs involved there. So again, we'll get your account manager to talk to you further about that to ascertain what your requirements are for the reports that you need and go from there.
I have a question about how to actually run Management Reporter from GP or from, well, this one is from GP. So you should have a link, depending on the version of GP or AX you have. So generally under your financial reports section, you should have a link to Management Reporter. If you don't, you can run it from your Start menu as it is a separate product. So if you just go through your Start menu and I think in GP it still falls under the Microsoft Dynamics folder and you'll see Management Reporter there. If you're on a later version of Windows, you can just go to the search and just type in Report Designer and that will find Management Reporter for you. Sorry, I'm just...
Yes, no, I understand. Some of the questions are a couple of lines long.
Yeah, and the screen's so tiny. Yeah, so as mentioned, I've just got a question here about can you include GL account codes in reports against each line. So yes, that is the typical way that you would generate the reports. And within Management Reporter, there is a little function where you can click edit and insert rows from the reporting units, which really will go into your source system, whether it be GP or AX, and it will retrieve all your account numbers from your chart of accounts. You can put in a range, so if you wanted only P&L or if you wanted balance sheet, you can put in that range and it will populate it for you and it will bring in all the descriptions of the accounts as well. So some people like to start off with that and then carry on customizing from there. So I have a question about, is it something we need to download separately? So I'm presuming that's a Management Reporter, so you don't need to download that separately. When you had your GP or your AX installed, it should have been installed with that as it comes standard with the product.
Fantastic. Another question that I can see there, Gail, is can it convert or import the trees, columns and rows that have already been set up in FRX over to Management Reporter?
Yes, it can. So we actually do have a migration tool that we migrate the reports over, and then we just have to check them to make sure that they're all still working. But there is definitely a migration path for that. I have another question, if it works with GP 2013. Everything that I've shown you today works with GP 2013. So it works with GP 2010 and above, or AX 2009 CU8 and above.
Fantastic. Another one here is, can you consolidate from 3 different companies, as in different databases?
So if this is, I'm presuming it's GP because AX we only have one database.
Yep.
So yes, it can. So what you would do is you would set that up in the tree, and the tree, Kim, can you just flip back to my screen?
Flip it back to you.
Thank you. So on the tree itself, you'll see in the first company column, you actually select the company, which is your database or the GP company that you want to report from. So this particular tree is actually taking 2 separate companies and it will roll it up into the one. The consolidations within Management Reporter are not 100% true consolidations in the fact that if you did have eliminations and things like that, that it would not do any eliminations, so you would have to have your elimination journal set up somewhere to see those offset.
Fantastic. Now, another one you were mentioning about the web viewer. Can you launch Management Reporter via, how do you launch Management Reporter via the web viewer?
No, so the web viewer is purely where you've actually created the report and it's created it in HTML kind of format. So you can't get into the product from there, but it's now a separate file. So if that was up on SharePoint, the user would be able to have a look at that file. They could still link back into the product if they had access, but if they don't have access, they won't be able to. But they can definitely still drill down and see the information that's stored within the report.
Fantastic. Look, I think, I can still see we do have a few more questions there, but we are running close to time and we don't want to run over time. And as I mentioned earlier, we will definitely get the remainder of the questions answered for the people that have logged those on. So we do appreciate all your questions that have come through. I'll just bring it back to me. We do have a offer available for the attendees of this webinar today. What we're offering is a 20% discount on Management Reporter training. So obviously there you can see some saving. If you book for a full day of training, it's only $1,344 plus GST, naturally, isn't everything nowadays. And also you can do a half day. Obviously if you want more than one day, you can, the 20% will be given for the additional days. We must book before the 28th of August. It doesn't mean you have to do the training by then. Oh, it should be September. Absolutely. My goodness. Oh, dear. Definitely book by the 28th of September 2015. Maybe they're thinking 2016. And we will, the actual training doesn't have to happen by the 28th of September. We just want to get that booked into calendars by then. So certainly if you're looking at late October sort of thing to do the training, that's not a problem at all. So based on that, if you have anything additional that you want to ask, or something has come up from this session, please ask your account manager. If you're not sure who your account manager is, then please just send an email to Fraser, who organised the webinar today, and you can see his contact details on the screen at the moment. So yeah, just to follow up there, thank you, Gail. That was a very informative session today, covering all parts of Management Reporter across 2 products, so that's fantastic. Thank you everyone for your attention here today, and again, any questions that haven't been answered, we will get those answered for you. Thanks very much and enjoy the rest of your day.